We're leaving the hiking trail today, and we're going to go to sea. We're going to row and paddle along a section of New Hampshire's coast and learn about a part of history that I'll bet you have never heard of before. So stick around. Welcome to Windsors to the Wild. I'm Willem Lang. We're in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where quite a bit of history has been made over the years. Right down the coast, for example, is Old Fort Constitution, where Paul Revere made one of his famous rides to tell them the Redcoats were coming. Well, today we're going to take a look at another aspect of coastal maritime history. We're going to take a look at early African-American seafaring. And with me today to discuss the subject is Chaya Harris, leader of Outdoor Afro in the Boston area. The last time we got together was on Mount Washington, as I recall, and it was a memorable day. Oh, God, how it rained and blew, oh, dear. But it's okay. Everybody made it.
We made it.
Successful. Now, I'm a little intrigued about today's adventure. What are we going to do?
Today we are going to paddle in Portsmouth Harbor and learn more about early African-American seafaring history, the Blackjacks.
Blackjacks?
Yes.
I like it. Okay, so let's do it. Outdoor Afro is a non-profit organization with chapters throughout the country. Outings like the one we're on today are meant to inspire African Americans to enjoy outdoor pursuits and recreation. And so your thing is to get as many outdoor outings going as possible.
Exactly. We have at least one event a month. Aim for 2 or even 3 sometimes, just as many as we can. We camp, we hike, we fish, we bike, we ski, try to do it all. So we're going to enjoy some kayaking today.
Chaya is a volunteer leader, and she has been since 2015.
Like a sweep stroke can help you turn. So just pulling it out like wider. I remember my first event where it was just me and my parents at the Arnold Arboretum in Boston for the Lilac Festival. And now we have wait lists for our events, and we have pretty big groups, and word's getting out, and people are just really excited and really fulfilled when they come to our events. Hey, Gwen! Hey! Outdoor Afro superstars! It's so important just to have people with a shared experience and to share those connections and people who look like you to enjoy the outdoors with. The outdoors can be a place of healing, it can be a place of peace, it's a place of adventure. So just having that community and building those relationships together it's crucial.
Well, while Chaya gets her team ready to head out on the water, let me show you what we plan to do today. We'll launch our boats from Portsmouth Kayak Adventures and paddle out from Sagamore Creek into the Piscataqua River.
I'm really excited. Looking forward to see what it looks like past Sagamore Creek as we get out more into the Bay Area.
If all goes well, we'll take a break in Portsmouth Harbor and then head back. Each outing, whether it's climbing a mountain or paddling the seacoast, is woven with stories about African American history and culture. Today, Chaya will introduce a book about the days of black seafarers.
My goal today is to reclaim some of our space and reclaim our stories and share our stories about the black impact on the maritime history. So as I've been learning more about New England history and seeing some more of these stories, I'm like, wow, why haven't I heard of this? I lived in Boston my whole life. So hearing about the Blackjacks and the extent of their impact all the way through the age of sailing to the end of the Civil War, and then how some of those connections continued after the Civil War as well, it's just like fascinating. It's kind of almost a rabbit hole of all the different stories that we can find. So my goal today is to reclaim our space and to share some of those stories with the group.
The kayakers in this flotilla are from New Hampshire and the Boston area. Some know how to paddle well. Others are learning.
I think we've always been there. We've always been in the outdoors, whether it's as a way of providing economic independence, whether it's a place of fun and enjoyment and recreation. But then our stories and our history has been misrepresented. It hasn't been told accurately. And then it's been skewed to sometimes a place of fear, a place of oppression, and not always welcoming spaces. So with Outdoor Afro, we're able to get more in touch with each other and reclaim some of those stories, reclaim that space, make sure that we're really connecting with each other and getting out in groups instead of having to be like by yourself.
I've been an outdoors woman my whole adult life, so I already, was very exposed, was hiking all the time. I've hiked all 48 of the New Hampshire peaks many times. I've done 2/3 of them in winter, working on that winter 48
Get
list.
out, really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
But I wanted to do it with more people of color, more people
right.
from my culture, my background, and then help encourage more people of color to be outside. For complex reasons, it's not part of our culture.
Lena Shale lives in New Hampshire, not far from where we're paddling and rowing. This is her first outing in a sea kayak.
You're okay. Now push it towards your feet so that you turn your boat around. Exactly. There you do. You've got it.
How did you get tangled up with Outdoor Afro?
So, well, I was starting to get into the outdoors, as usually happens when you start living in New Hampshire and falling in love with New Hampshire. So I started just going outside, and I didn't have a lot of experience being outside, and I wanted to do it with more people. It's great to make friends who want to be outdoors and meet new people who want to be outdoors. And, I think the other thing is that sometimes it's really hard to plan to be outdoors because you're busy with work and things like that. But what Outdoor Afro does is you know that there's going to be a planned outdoor event at least once a month.
Lena, I'll go check in with her.
And something about having my name on the list makes me commit. And it's a public list. I'm going to make this look graceful.
Tasha Harris also signed up for today's adventure.
There! I did it!
She says she knew what she was getting herself into.
Thank you.
Good?
I'm good.
Tasha,
Yes,
you're a school teacher,
I am.
and you look fairly rational. What in the world are you doing out here today?
This is what helps me stay rational.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, I need to put my planning book down. I need to close my laptop, and I need to connect.
Yeah, that's true. And you chose Outdoor Afro to do it?
I did, yes, mainly because it gets me out of my comfort zone. I could easily see what's on sale and hit them all,
Yeah.
and then there's money not saved, right? But when I look at what they're posting and offering, and I see if it's like resonating, I'm like, okay, let me sign up.
Yeah.
And something about having my name on the list makes me commit. And it's a public list, so it's like, okay, I'm on there and I'm going.
You gotta go.
I gotta go.
Oh. You doing okay this morning? You were.
I did. I used to go to overnight camp when I was younger,
Yeah.
so it's been a while since I've had to kayak.
Good.
But we talked a little bit about muscle memory, and as a teacher,
You did, yeah.
yeah, as a teacher, it's something we know exists. You get it in your muscle memory, then you can recall it. So I had to survive out there. So I was like, wait, what did I learn in camp? What did I learn? And it started coming back to me as I was out on the water.
It's an easy access point for people who are maybe busy with their lives and they don't know exactly how to approach it, or newbies and you're all afraid about what's going to happen. Well, I mean, like today, right? I had never been sea kayaking before.
One would never know.
And I think it was pretty obvious. You know, it was tough. It was tough in the beginning. I'm going to tell the truth, but you know, I had a great support, and I did it, and here I am.
Yes,
yeah.
you are.
So I think that's the magic of outdoor Afro, right? That it gets you outside to try things that you haven't done before, and then you get this like amazing supportive group of people who are going through it with you, and then you know, like if on the other side you decide it's not for you, then you try something else.
Chaya loves the outdoors.
Yes.
I say that with confidence. Look at that smile.
Personally, nature just brings a sense of peace and a sense of well-being. It's a place where I can go to be reminded that the world is just huge and it's so vast and beautiful and all-powerful, and it gives me a reminder that whatever I might be facing in my own personal life is really minute, and I have whatever skills, I have whatever community now that I need in order to get through it.
To me, my parents grew up in rural settings, and I've always loved being outdoors, and I've always felt that it's something that every human needs for our souls.
You bet we do. I mentioned earlier in the story that I first met Chaya several years ago on Mount Washington. Shortly after we completed that trek, she took on a much bigger challenge.
Since I last saw you when we were on Mount Washington, I've climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. So me and 11 other outdoor Afro leaders and 2 amazing guides were able to go with a team of porters up to 19,341 feet. And it was just an incredible journey of a lifetime. One of the big surprises was how well I did with my peers. So I was one of the co-leaders, and I was really nervous about the hike, didn't sure how I would do about the trek, wasn't sure how I would do with taking care of my team, wasn't sure how I would do with helping people meet their basic needs. And every day the group looked towards me and my co-leader for guidance. They looked to us for advice. They thanked us every day, and I can't even put it into words how much that meant to me, that my team was looking up to me as a leader on this 40-mile intense trek.
There are many, many reasons why people of color haven't culturally spent a lot of time in the outdoors, but one of those reasons is that it's just not part of the culture in kind of mainstream culture and white American culture. If you say, I'm going out for a hike, I went hiking, people say, wow, that's like strong, that's brave, that's adventurous. Typically, if you say that in black culture, people, that is not what we associate with bravery and courage and strength. We just say, that's odd, or that's strange, or that's scary.
She's losing it. Right?
Right.
No kidding. Well, so you're trying to normalize that. That's fantastic. Yeah. Any success?
Well, it's amazing how many people are interested in exploring the outdoors, but don't know how to begin, or feel overwhelmed, or aren't sure where to start. And so Chaya and the folks at Outdoor Afro do an amazing job of kind of sequencing events, giving folks exposure.
I love looking back and seeing people getting to know each other and just having a great time in nature.
And then giving them a chance to dip in a little deeper. And so I've been really impressed by that and just want to be a part of it.
Stay to the left!
I think it's important to be outside with other people of color because representation matters, right? I think sometimes the danger of a single story is just that single narrative goes out. And I think that if you're a person of color in the U.S., I think that the story that you get told over and over again is that black people don't really go outside. And I think it's easy to buy into that, and I think then when you try to go outside, there's a lot of fear because you feel like, well, am I going to be the only person? You know, I don't, you know, like, how am I going to be able to navigate this? Are people going to be friendly? Is it going to be welcoming? And I think maybe that's the added piece of Outdoor Afro, that you get to try it with people who look like you, and that little bit of fear that goes away, right? And then you sort of get your sea legs.
Gonna take my boat to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can no more.
Tasha says there's a legacy of African American history that's very much alive today.
Part of the stigma with nature and connecting with nature is that tree, right? Part of our history is, sadly, black people were lynched.
That's right.
So there's a whole lot of trauma that comes with being around trees. It's real. So I'm hoping to help people gently move past the trauma and just connect with the benefit of nature. Because I feel like 20 times better already just being out on the kayak and pushing myself past my comfort zone and being in nature today. And I know the benefits firsthand, but I want to gently ease people of color out there so they can see what we're talking about and see what we experience. It lowers your blood pressure, it helps you focus, it clears your skin, it helps you connect with other people.
Here I go, crashing into it again.
Here we go. It saves you money. I'm not at the mall today. Not going.
We find a quiet spot in Portsmouth Harbor. The team gathers around Chaya. She opens a history book to an overlooked chapter of Black America.
Then we started to talk more about just how many stories there are about the Blackjacks and all the black men who were involved in the maritime industry.
I know just a little bit. I know the history of black folk in the whaling industry, particularly off of Nantucket. Nantucket has a museum of African American history. Martha's Vineyard has a burgeoning museum of African American history and a new trail of African American heritage. But I don't know much about the history in this area, so I'm really excited to learn more about that today.
So thinking of our friend Jack Staines, what do you think his daily life was like being at sea? The Blackjacks were black seamen, especially in New England, during the age of sailing, which is considered about the early 1700s until right after the end of the Civil War, 1865. I think the biggest surprise was how many black men were in the sea industry, whether it was working on the coast as like shipbuilders and ship caulkers, or even up to being sea captains. There were all black crews, there were black officers, and it was just incredible having that freedom and that independence and that that like just go-get-itness of being out on the sea and traveling up and down the coast, traveling to the Caribbean, traveling to Europe, traveling to the coast of Africa. And it's just amazing to me hearing about the widespread effect of those stories and just how many black men there were. And then, of course, when you think about the men being sailors, thinking about their wives and their families back home on the shore and how they were involved in that too, whether they owned taverns or they worked in taverns or other businesses that they had in supporting the seamen when they were out at sea.
There were Blackjacks whose names are familiar.
Frederick Douglass. So our friend, I like to call him our friend of Outdoor Afro, we celebrated him a lot and his connections here to New England. When he arrived in New Bedford, he worked as a ship caulker, as many men in New Bedford did.
An awful job.
Yeah.
All day long looking up. Oh, God.
And at its highlight, 8% of New Bedford were free black men working in the ship industry. So it was really like a common thing for black people to be involved in the maritime industry.
Yeah, right.
So there's Frederick Douglass, there's Paul Cuffey. Paul, he was a merchant owner, and he had a huge fleet of ships, and he is able to become a pretty wealthy merchant. He started an integrated school in Westport, Mass, and he was also really influential in starting a Let's Go Back to Africa movement. So he was considered a leader in New England, and like just some of these stories are just really fascinating. Crispus Attucks, who was the first person killed in the Boston Massacre, he was a blackjack. He was a black seaman. So it was really in the early 1700s and then continuing through the Civil War at its height when the tradition just continued. And then after the Civil War, when segregation became even more apparent and there were different economic challenges and economic oppression, and that's when it kind of ended. The age of sailing really declined, and then blackjacks especially declined. Definitely is a sense of freedom, a way to earn some money, have more of a social status with your peers. So there are lots of stories of white men and black men on the ships doing the same jobs.
If you're at sea and you're on a ship, at some point you have to work together.
Stories of black officers and black captains that just, it's fascinating.
And they had to be dodging slave patrols and things, didn't they?
So much. It's such a complex history and not just like one story to be told.
Yeah.
So there was a wide range of free and enslaved men in the industry. And I say range for that because the type of enslavement that they faced, it could be that they, if they were enslaved, they were sailing on the ships for months at a time. They were able to go to the Caribbean. They were able to go to the coast of Africa. They were able to go to Europe. And they did some of that like dirty work that their owners didn't want to do. But instead of seeing it as dirty work, they were able to brave through those challenges and make a career out of it and be able to earn some money. Yeah. And then when they came back to port, they still faced some of those challenges of enslavement and oppression. So it's just a really complex system and a complex history.
We have a special treat today. So usually we do not go under this bridge. But since we're with Bill, guess where we're heading?
Under the bridge.
Under the bridge.
It's been a great day for me. I got to be on the water with good company.
All right, let's get some paddling in.
Along the way, I learned some of the history that helped shape New England culture.
Our legacy is lost in history intentionally, and to seek that out and to want to build on it is something we should be doing. And we owe it to the youth, not just black and brown youth, but all youth, to know it and to bring it back to life out of those books. It's bits and pieces of information, and we're putting together the puzzle almost every day. Every day there's a new piece to the puzzle. And again, it's not just my history. It's all the history that we need to bring up and teach all these children, because we share this earth.
Everyone doing okay so far?
Well, it's important, like, no matter who you are, that we're telling these stories and sharing these stories, because black history is American history.
We began the day with the morning sun. Now the day winds down with late afternoon shadows. All the kayakers made it back to where we started. They leave with a better understanding of maritime history, new friendships, and a sense of accomplishment.
Every experience is just more of opening yourself up to what the world really is. And I think it's sometimes you can get afraid and you can be in your house by yourself and you can close yourself off from like the wonderful experiences because you've told yourself or you've allowed yourself to believe a single story about how you're not welcome in a place. And then you go out there and you realize, well, actually, yeah, I belong in this place just like everybody else belongs, and that the world is big enough for all of us.
You know, what this did for me today is it pushed me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I was a little like, how the heck am I going to get in and out of the kayak? My legs are going to be straight for 2 hours. In my head, there's all this discomfort in my head, but I just pushed through it. And I feel like a new teacher this year because I have 21 different challenges to meet all at the same time.
21 kids in the same room?
Same room.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
In the kindergarten?
4, 5, and 6-year-olds.
Wow. That's a handful.
So yeah, this helped me push myself out of my comfort zone, and I think it's going to help me remember where I put my tools to meet all those different needs.
Yep. We've come once again to that part of the show that I like least, the time we have to say goodbye. As you can see, everybody made it safely. And if Marty were to turn around, you'd notice that she didn't make it quite dryly. But we're all happy, and we hope to see you again on Windows to the Wild. Bye-bye. Support for the production of Windows to the Wild is provided by the Alice J. Reen Charitable Trust, the Fuller Foundation, the Gilbert Verney Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.